anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
If you're going to trade Durant, right, it means things are getting weird anyway. Teams are going to, before they go for Durant, they're going to go for Devin Booker. That's just the reality of it.
You get rid of Durant, or do you do the crazy one? Because you're so far out of the West, you get rid of Booker because D-Book will bring you far more in a return.
Betting above the rim. Only on SportsGrid.
We welcome you to hour number 2 live right here on this Tuesday morning on the early line on SportsGrid. He is Donnie Rightside. I am Ben Stevens. A lot to dive into here in this second hour. Really a smorgasbord of everything around the sports landscape this week. We recap a Monday around Major League Baseball to start off a new week in the bigs as we near about a month of this regular season around Major League Baseball. It is NFL Draft Week in Green Bay. The biggest storylines with a buy or sell segment in a little bit here in this second hour. And then Pete Jensen from the NHL will join us to end out this hour number 2 to recap a quadruple header of action on the ice in the Stanley Cup Playoffs from last night and more games to come on this Tuesday. DRS, a lot to get to here in this second hour.
It is. And you know what? Like, the NHL playoffs are on. If you saw the final scores last night, I kind of get upset with myself because you have an evolution of your sports fandom and as your life gets older. Like, you know, single in your teens and your 20s, you have a lot more time to watch, and the Flyers were really good back then. They're not now. I've generally missed the NHL playoffs being a fan of that because each and every night it's unbelievable theater on a night-to-night basis with overtime, and teams can't stand each other after game number 1. They're usually set for a long series, 5, 6, 7 games, and it only builds with momentum each and every time. You got that last night, and for me, again, I didn't watch a single moment of it, but looked at the highlights and go, man, I missed some unbelievable, like Ovi scoring overtime goals in the play. Like, it's tremendous stuff. And I'm just upset that there's only so much in my day that I can actually fit into with my schedule. It's a shame that I don't love the NHL like I used to. And again, it has a lot to do with my fandom for the Flyers because they're insignificant. But that sport is outrageously fun in the playoffs.
Yeah, it certainly is, DRS. Alexander Ovechkin making history this year, the most goals scored ever in the history of the National Hockey League, and his first overtime playoff game winner is what we saw last night. We start, though, in Major League Baseball. Our headlines from Monday, an 8-game slate around the bigs that included a very early start around 11 a.m. Eastern time on Marathon Day in Boston, Patriots Day in Beantown. In the fourth and final game of an extended weekend set between the Red Sox and the White Sox, in Boston wins, taking 3 of 4 against Chicago, 4-2. Sensational start out of Walker Buehler, who in his last 3 has looked really good now, DRS, in a Red Sox uniform.
Yeah, rounding back in the form, and also did something interesting yesterday with that Marathon Day in Boston. He stayed at a local hotel, brought the family, the kids over, so he wasn't able to, hey, I can't navigate through. I just want to have my normal routine. It certainly worked in his favor. But again, we're talking about the White Sox. You're supposed to do that as they now drop to 1-9 on the road. By the way, let me ask you a question, too, about Marathon Day. Yeah. People that run like cross-country, run just for enjoyment or a marathon, How do they do it, Ben? Like, have you ever tried to like run a marathon? Like when people are like, hey, you know what? I got to run 2 miles. Like it is not to say you can't do it. Like back in the day, like we would show up to football camp, we'd have to run like 2 miles and get it timed. Like who would do that as for enjoyment, or that's the path they chose? I can't think of anything worse. It's just pain. It's just pure pain.
It is pure pain. There is no doubt about it. But I think it is the spirit of accomplishment, right? Setting a goal, achieving that, and conquering your mission. And there is no feeling, I would presume, like that. I have never been to the Boston Marathon. I have attended the New York City Marathon many a year as a spectator. The energy, the positivity, the vibes, it's unlike anything I've ever seen. It is truly one of the happiest and like go-hung type of ways, gung-ho, not go-hung, gung-ho type of things you will ever see. Unfortunate
I think
phrase on my
that's
part.
a Freudian slip, which means, yes, if you're running, you might as well hang yourself because that's really what it feels like when you're in your 17th mile in a marathon. I can't believe that's – and kudos to the people that do it. It's amazing. But if anybody that knows, like even building up for a marathon, I'm going to run 6 miles today, 7 the next, 9 – what? You got to be kidding me, man. Good for them if they can enjoy it.
Yeah, it's good for them and very, very good for them. DRS, if you saw Shaq last night – we got a similar situation budding here in this studio. So I'm going to turn it back to you as you discuss the Mets and the Phillies.
Yeah.
Nick Castellanos, by the way, on an important day, did not homer. Francisco Lindor did twice. The Phils made it interesting in the 9th, but the Mets do hold on for a 5-4 win. Donnie Rightside, take it away, my friend.
Look at the final score of that game, 5-4 Mets. Ooh, it was entertaining. It really wasn't entertaining until the 9th inning where the Phillies scored 4 runs to make it a 5-4 game. Now, understand this, too. You guys know me out there. Philly fandom for me is something that I love and I wear on my sleeve, and rightfully so. But also understand this. I came on the show yesterday and told you the New York Mets were the better play last night. I thought the better pitcher in McGill would be on the mound, and the Phillies struggling at the plate would bleed over into this game. So understand that sometimes you cheer for a team like I do for the Philadelphia Phillies, but also at the same time, you have to understand what you're looking at. And the Mets were the better team last night. Taking a look, let's like McGill, 5 1/3 innings pitched, 1 hit, no earned run, 10 strikeouts, along with 4 walks. This game was over, it felt like, by the 2nd inning. And also, another key component that I love to talk about with the New York Mets as we set up the future of this team, which means this regular season. Juan Soto's going to be fine. He was 0 for 4 last night, hitting .244, had a nice game the previous day. He makes a lot of money. I'm not worried about him at all. Pete Alonso has been spectacular. He only was 1 for 4 last night, but look at the batting average at .341. But do you see who is storming the fort right now? The original moneymaker on the New York Mets. It's Francisco Lindor, who seems like every time he gets to the plate, he's making big things happen, which includes, again, a leadoff home run last night. And on top of that, another shot. 2 of 3 at the plate, 4 RBI, 2 home runs, and a walk. His batting average, which was like the Mendoza line just a week ago, has now built up to .284. The Philadelphia Phillies tonight back on it with Christopher Sanchez on the mound. We'll preview that game a little bit later. I think a bounce back is in order. But for my money last night, it was the New York Mets. But also understand this. I actually went to bed before that game was over because I thought the Mets had won, and they ended up winning. Next day, I wake up and see that final score and see what happens. I also like the under in that game, which was sitting at 8 runs. How the heck do you get beat? That's bullpen advantages, falling through at the wrong time. So if you have the total, you woke up and you certainly found the W there. Other big news across Major League Baseball, which does deal with the Mets and the Phillies. Why? Because it's the NL East. Spencer Strider, one of the single best pitchers in baseball before the arm injury. Who knows what he could have did for the Atlanta Braves last year. Comes back this year, looks decent in his first start. And you say he's already back on the IL. Oh, no. It must be an elbow. Something happened there. It wasn't. My guy was playing catch and hurt his hamstring at this point, which is another hamstring in this early season. Was it freezing cold yesterday in Atlanta? I don't think it was. They picked up the 7-6 victory, but even with that, it's like throwing salt in the wounds. Like, yeah, we won that game, and yes, we came back at the plate, but we might have lost our best pitcher for another 15 days, which means he can't work out in the mound and build up that stamina, which is what he was doing in the spring training and into some of those rehab starts. So when do we get Spencer Strider back on the mound full gas? I don't know. You're looking at the end of April, maybe by mid-May, and before he can actually pitch into the 7th and 8th inning. Is it June at this point? That's a tough look here for the Atlanta Braves. Also, another pitcher here who had high expectations for the Guardians. That was Tristan McKenzie. High strikeout guy, just never seemed to get it into a groove, and it's a cold world, man. You don't get to hang on all that much if you are struggling as a pitcher designated for assignment here. And also taking a look at some of the other scores around Major League Baseball. The Marlins pick up a 6-3 victory over the Reds yesterday. The Tigers, who I loved with their team total yesterday, 4.5 runs at plus money, score 6 and knock off the Padres, who now dropped to 16-7 on the season. Good performance there. And this was one of those games we talk about with Vasquez on the mound. A super low ERA and a monster high xFIP number. Even though it was only limited innings there, I thought that was a great spot to hit. And also the Detroit Tigers helped me out and certainly hit in that game. Other games we talked about, the Braves 7-6. And how about the Astros in a bounce back performance at home against the Blue Jays? Love myself some Hunter Brown. 1.16 ERA now in the season after shutting out the Blue Jays, and the Blue Jays only amassing 2 hits. The Giants win 5-2 over the Brewers. Major League Baseball, people. We love it. Let's get to some other topics next, right here on The Early Line.
Enter into the magical world of McLuck.com, where even the smallest of spins can win real cash prizes. Adventure into over 1,000 of the best Vegas-style slot games. So what are you waiting for? Unlock your free welcome offer today. Join the fun where winners play and players win.
Two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching!
Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What?
How do you do this once?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Did you know sportsbooks tend to draw up tighter bet lines for events that get even more bettors, like championship games or major matchups? My tip, try betting on less popular sports. You might have a better shot at beating those odds. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
Live right here on the Early Line on this Tuesday morning. I am Ben Stevens. He is Donnie Rightside. It is NFL Draft Week. We are just 2 days away from the start of night number 1, round number 1 in Green Bay, Wisconsin, in the shadows of Lambeau Field. So here on this Tuesday on TEL, with more draft markets opening up, more odds we can use to drive the conversation and paint the picture of what we can expect to see in the opening round of the 2025 NFL Draft. DRS, we play one of our favorite games. It is time now for NFL Draft. Buy or sell. How excited are you?
I love it. I love buy or sell. By the way, you should be buying on DRS right now, because if anybody didn't know what happened here, that was Ben leaving the camera here and the studio because upper management wanted to see if I still had it in me to be a solo host on this network, even though I've done it thousands of hours so far. So I passed it with flying colors. I'm back for the rest. Ben's here, so we're all involved in getting ready for buy or sell, which I do love here. NFL Draft Edition, but looks like we're going to be together, Ben, for a while, because I did pass the test.
Yeah.
Yes.
You still got it, my friend. Anybody that questioned that, I think they just got the answer that they need. Solo missions aplenty on radio, but to do it with the bright light shining in front of you, you've got that pretty down pat. DRS, what are the stories for the 2025 NFL Draft as we have shared? For the first time ever in the modern era of the draft, dating back to 1994, for the first time since the NFL expanded and added its 32nd franchise back in 2002, this time of the league year, and now just 2 days away from the NFL Draft, it is the first time ever we have seen all 32 NFL teams still hold on to and maintain their original first-round pick. We have not seen any movement up the draft order, either trades that have happened years prior or this offseason or in the last few weeks. So will we see it? Per NFL research, we have had 24 consecutive NFL drafts with a trade in to the top 15. We have averaged about a trade and a half into the top 10 since 2011 in the last 15 years or so. So DRS, buy or sell, 2 or more first-round trades will be traded before, or 2 or more first-round picks, I should say, will be traded before the start of the NFL Draft in just over 48 hours.
No, I'm selling that right now, because the key indicator is how that question is worded. Now, do I think there's going to be multiple trades in the first round during the draft? I absolutely believe that's going to be the case. But the reason why I haven't seen that is so many times, like the number one team is like, well, I'm not sold on a quarterback, or somebody's offering me so much and we don't necessarily need a quarterback that I'm going to be able to trade back. Like case in point, you take a look at, the Bryce Young deal that was done. It's like, okay, well, here's where we're going to trade out and trade in and make some things happen. That was interesting. But also at the same time, even if you go back, let's just say a decade ago, Carson Wentz and Jared Goff in that draft went 1 and 2, I believe. Both of those first and second picks were traded. Once you knew Jared Goff was going to go to the Rams, the Eagles like, we really like Carson Wentz. Now we're going to move up to 2 before the draft even happens. But the fact this year that Cam Ward seems like he's signed, sealed, and delivered to Tennessee, and now you're seeing these huge draft odds here for the second and the third picks. It makes me feel like those teams have already decided they're not going to move those picks, at least before draft night. Because the one thing we do know understand is we get angry. Like Cam Ward, we know is going to be the first pick. Why are we wasting 10 minutes on the clock or whatever so the one team can have their glory and say, hey, we're the number one pick and let's wait? But these teams, like second and third, you might say, you know what? I'm going Travis Hunter here, number 2 with Cleveland. And you get a phone call from Team X that calls up, we really want Travis Hunter. What's it going to take? And they go, 3 first rounders. They go, done deal. Oh, okay, well, we'll make that move at this point. I don't think we're getting any first round trades before the clock hits, because why, Ben? I think we've already would have seen it.
I don't believe we are going to get any trades before the start of the opening round either. I'm going to sell this notion. Now, if we asked a question, would you buy that we see multiple first-round trades on the night of the draft? I would probably buy that.
Yes.
I am not sure, DRS, if we are not seeing movement early because of where this draft class stands, if there is not a ton of emphasis on some of these prospects. And oftentimes, it really is generated by an offensive player, and namely a quarterback. Last year, it could make some sense. 6 QBs in the top 12, a modern draft era for the most quarterbacks ever taken in a single first round. This year, there's really one, as Donnie highlighted, in Cam Ward. But as those dominoes start to fall, actually, as the teams are on the clock on Thursday, that's when I think we finally see movement. But the lack thereof, DRS, in the draft order is historic and rather sensational. And because of it, one of the main storylines entering the 2025 NFL Draft. And it doesn't just have to happen right here, right now. Of course, the story is no trade happened 3 years ago that exchanged a 2025 first rounder for any of our 32 NFL teams. That's the first time ever in the common era. But, Donnie, also the first time since 2014, unless we do see a trade in the next 48 hours, we have not seen a trade from the start of the league year that happens in the middle of March, this year on Wednesday, March 12th, in the start of the first round. The first time in more than a decade, there has not even been a trade in about the 6-week span that we see in the buildup to the NFL draft. Significantly, there is no movement right now. What does that mean? We'll find out on Thursday.
Yes, and also, with the Titans not moving out of the 1 spot, they're going to draft a quarterback,
Right.
which they should do, and it's going to be Cam Ward, and I really like that pick for them. You figured then that once Tennessee is out of the way, which they've really much been, in my mind, out of the way for weeks and weeks and weeks now, that's the surprising part where that Cleveland spot, they probably haven't been getting enough phone calls where they think it's worth it to get out of that 2 spot because nobody's drafting Shedeur Sanders number 2 overall and trading up into that Cleveland spot. So Cleveland's probably not getting all those picks where it's like, boy, if it was really a 2-quarterback draft, like generational, right? I think Cam Ward's generational. I think Shedeur Sanders is generational. You would have had some movement between the 1s and the 2s. Same way as I talked about Jared Goff and Carson Wentz, where, okay, Tennessee's going to stick with Cam Ward. We know that. I better get the number 2 because Shedeur's not going to make it past number 2. And also, I know other teams are calling Cleveland, which means a bidding war would get there. Now, once we hit the draft, like, who's going to trade up today and be like, hey, we got the Patriots number 4 overall pick. We don't know who's going to be there. Oh, no, that's not the guy we wanted. Now we got to trade out and we actually lost in the transaction. That's what you're seeing now. But once you see, Ben, 1 go and 2 go, that Giants pick and that Patriots pick might be a hot commodity depending on where these boards fall for these teams.
Maybe the pick after 2, the Jags at 5. We'll discuss next.
They're so close that we're barely going to be getting any value on the plus side of things. I think there's a little bit of value on the Blue Jays today, but it's an awesome division. Like, I don't want to see teams running away and be up by 12 games in first place. We want to see teams constantly battling for first place.
They hit a team total. I love that. So as many times as we get bad beats, you do get the same amount of good beats typically in your direction if you wait long enough.
Pro Baseball Today, only on SportsGrid.
If you're going to trade Durant, right, it means things are getting weird anyway. Teams are going to, before they go for Durant, they're going to go for Devin Booker. That's just the reality of it.
You get rid of Durant, or do you do the crazy one because you're so far out of the West? Do you get rid of Booker because D-Book will bring you far more in a return?
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
11 times now without a major, 14 times at the Masters. He finally has the green jacket. Rory McIlroy.
The best sporting event so far this year. It's better than the Super Bowl. It was better than the NCAA tournament. It had ups and downs. It had roller coaster rides. It had history, legacies. It had everything you could ever possibly want.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
The 2 guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity. I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results.
What? How do you do this once?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
One of the main storylines for the 2025 NFL Draft, the lack of movement in the draft order. Not necessarily the odds board, but the draft order. Why is that happening? because we really only have one surefire quarterback we know is going in the top 5 or the top 10. How many quarterbacks we will see, we'll discuss a little bit later on. But both DRS and I are selling the notion that we see a trade happen before the start of the first round. On the night of the first round, I think we could see multiple moves. In DRS, we had a report yesterday from ESPN's Adam Schefter that Jacksonville, who selects 5th overall at this moment, is seen around the league right now in this draft cycle as a wild card. What exactly are they going to do with that pick as they try to reinvigorate the roster, as Liam Cohen, rookie head coach, tries to reinvigorate the career of his quarterback in Trevor Lawrence? Are they even going to be the team that makes that 5th overall selection by the time we get to draft night on this upcoming Thursday? Some market movement because of it yesterday, DRS, as we focus on the Heisman runner-up in Ashton Jeanty. For most of this draft cycle, the team that was most likely to draft Ashton Jeanty with a minus money price, the Las Vegas Raiders, who selects 6th overall. That started to change as we spoke yesterday on the show. We showed you the odds. Mason Graham was minus 165 to go 5th. Ashton Jeanty started to make his way up that odds board yesterday as well. Here is the draft odds profile for Jeanty at this moment. To be a top 5 selection, plus 150. But to go in the top 10 is minus 2,400. Over-under position prop is now out for Jeanty. 6.5 is the number. The under has the hefty juice at minus 320. So we think that Ashton Jeanty is a surefire top 10 pick. Is he worth it? Buy or sell, DRS? That exact question to you. Ashton Jeanty is worth a top 10 draft pick in 2025.
I'm going to buy this with a caveat here. Ashton Jeanty is a sensational running back. In the year of the running back that we just saw here, so many teams are not going to get the idea like, oh, okay, Saquon went to the Eagles, won him a Super Bowl. Let me just get a dominant running back. We'll go to the Super Bowl. Understand where you're coming from here. The Philadelphia Eagles were elite just about at every single position, which included maybe the best offensive line in football. So hear me out on this. Jeanty, love the kid. Goes to the right situation, fantastic. Let's talk about the right situation here in the top 10 for Ashton Jeanty. Number 1 overall pick, which you know he's not going, but I'm going to play it out because the question is the top 10 here. The Titans, they're not serious about winning this year. If they're going to get a rookie quarterback, that roster stinks out loud. Number 2 is Cleveland. They're not serious about winning this year. They don't have a quarterback. Why would another running back go there? Oh, Donnie, Nick Chubb might have been the best running back in football before injury. What did that do for Cleveland? Didn't that amount to a ton of wins and making deep playoff appearances and winning Super Bowls? Number 3 is the Giants. They're unserious about winning. They just took Saquon Barkley 5 to 6 years ago and see how that turned out. They can't do that again. The Patriots at 4. They're unserious about winning. They have a young quarterback. They're just trying to get their roster as one of the least talented rosters in the NFL be a wasted draft pick. You're telling me the Jacksonville Jaguars just a few years ago drafted Travis Etienne in the first round, and now we take a look and say, oh, well, we're going to draft another running back, particularly in the top 5? Absolutely not. The Raiders, that's an absolute joke if he goes there. The Jets, they're not serious about winning. The Saints, they're not serious about winning, which then brings me to the Bears, which is a caveat. You feel you have your franchise quarterback, your wide receivers, you rebuilt that team and spent money. I can actually see the Bears taking a leap this year. I'm saying a leap winning the Super Bowl, but maybe that team in the next 2 to 3 years is really serious about winning and could do some damage with that rookie contract. So for the top 10 teams, one team, which is number 10, might make some sense. If one of those teams before them in the top 9, Ben, actually draft Ashton Jeanty, fire the entire organization from top to bottom.
Plus 370 price right now for Chicago to be the team to draft Ashton Jeanty. The Raiders still have the shortest number at plus 105. The Jags have the second best price at plus 195. Is Ashton Jeanty worthy of a top 10 selection? Absolutely buying that notion. To DRS's point, how much does he move the needle? There was not all that long ago, Donnie, the running back position would have never dreamed of going in the top 10. And then Bijan Robinson went 8th overall in 2023. Jahmyr Gibbs not far outside of the top 10, 12th overall to Detroit. Those guys have proved that they can play at a very high level and do move the needle. Saquon Barkley did a ton to reinvigorate the running back spot this past season as well. Ashton Jeanty is going to be a top 10 pick, but we have not seen many running backs go in the top 10. I just mentioned Bijan Robinson in 2023. The 2 years around that, 2022 and a season ago, not a single first-round running back in DRS prior to Bijan Robinson. That guy in Saquon was the last to go in the top 10, second overall back in 2018. More around the NFL draft up next.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
If you're going to trade Durant, right, it means things are getting weird anyway. Teams are going to, before they go for Durant, they're going to go for Devin Booker. That's just the reality of it.
You get rid of Durant, or do you do the crazy one because you're so far out of the West? Do you get rid of Booker because D-Book will bring you far more in a return?
Betting above the rim. Only on SportsGrid.
Live right here during NFL Draft Week on this Tuesday on the early line, 48 hours out from draft day in Green Bay, Wisconsin. In DRS, we expect early on, more than likely at third overall, the Penn State edge rusher and game wrecker Abdul Carter will hear his name called. Here's what Carter did during his time in State College. Wearing the number 11, the historic number at linebacker U, taking over for Micah Parsons on the edge and really not skipping a beat. DRS, you consider him to be the best overall prospect in this NFL draft. Now, you don't think he's going number one overall, but you think he is the best draft prospect in this draft class in 2025. I'm not sure I argue with you. Buy or sell on Abdul Carter. Abdul Carter will be a minus money favorite to win Defensive Rookie of the Year for the 2025 NFL season.
Oh, without a doubt, 100%. Buy. I can't buy enough of this stock right now. I love this kid. I do. Because the one thing you have to understand, there are going to be very good defensive players in this draft along with Abdul Carter. But when you have just a plug-and-play guy, like, what is your job? Hut, hike, go kill that quarterback. He is the best of it here. He is at an elite position, but also an elite athlete that can do many things that other people can't. A generational pass rusher we might be looking at here, which is fantastic to let it play out. And you might say, well, Donnie, Travis Hunter could be a lockdown corner. Understand how things work out. You can still be a very good defensive end and get triple teamed every play and end up with 3 sacks. You're not going to get Defensive Rookie of the Year. You know, you get that? 11 or 12 sacks as a rookie. It's the same thing with a shutdown cornerback. Everybody else has to have a slightly down season. Like, he only had 1 interception, but nobody threw him the football. The statistics are what usually gets you trophies here, as opposed to nobody throws you the football like being on Revis Island back in the day with the New York Jets. So for me, it's a simple answer. It's an absolute buy. I would be shocked if Abdul Carter comes into the NFL and has a healthy year, which means he plays 17 weeks, and doesn't wind up with 8 or 9 plus sacks here, which will get him that Defensive Rookie Player of the Year. No doubt in my mind. He's a great football player. I expect big things, and he'll be minus money.
There will be natural comps, of course, to Micah Parsons because they both hail from Penn State. They might both end up in the NFC East. Parsons, during his historic rookie year back in 2021, 13 sacks, cruised to Defensive Rookie of the Year and getting his name on that hardware. Finished runner-up for Defensive Player of the Year, even back as a rookie. Abdul Carter will be expected to do the same. And if he does end up in New York and the Giants retain Kayvon Thibodeau and they have Dexter Lawrence plugged into the middle, he's going to have some opportunities to cause some havoc on the outside. Donnie, I think it's pretty simple, maybe not simple. I think it's pretty understood to say now in the NFL. Quarterback is by far the most important position. But what is the other position that moves the needle? A dynamic pass rusher, either on the edge or in the interior. That's why I believe that Abdul Carter is the best draft prospect in this NFL draft class. Cam Ward's going to go before him. Travis Hunter probably hears his name called before Abdul Carter as well. The Giants should be salivating at the idea they get Abdul Carter 3rd overall.
And also understand this, like it's a plug-and-play spot for an unbelievable athlete. Like if you're a quarterback, you got to learn the ropes. You might not even be starting your first couple weeks here. If you're a great quarterback like Travis Hunter, you're still getting into the physicality of the NFL. And I'm not saying like defensive pass rushers just come out of college and dominate in the NFL. But if you are just saying, hey, look, I'm going to put you in on 3rd down and drop you right in this equation, he's going to wreck teams' game plans here. And you're right about it. It's interesting. You got Burns on one side, Thibodeau. You sort of use that Steve Spagnuolo race car package if you get Abdul Carter with those 3 guys rushing the pass rusher on one separate play on a 3rd down. That's crazy work here. And also, we don't know where the Giants are specifically going, but to get back to the original point, the best football player in this draft, it's Abdul Carter. Whoever gets him outside of the number 1 pick, that's a steal. So even if he lands 2, which it doesn't look like he's going to be that, or 3 or 4, you're getting an unbelievable football player right out of the gate that should dominate from day number 1. A true speed pass rusher at an elite level, everybody needs that.
Minus 470 for Abdul Carter to go 3rd overall. It's the pick the Giants have right now. I do believe that is going to be the case. I wonder what exactly his price is going to be to win Defensive Rookie of the Year. And I think a lot of that will have to do with Travis Hunter. Is Travis Hunter primarily a wide receiver? Is Travis Hunter primarily a lockdown cornerback? Now, we heard from GM Andrew Berry in Cleveland last week at his pre-NFL draft press conference. Donnie, the thought among the Browns, which I still find fascinating, is that Travis Hunter is more of a generational wide receiver than a generational DB. Of course, will we see Hunter play on both sides of the football? That remains to be seen. Enough that he could play and be in consideration for both offensive and defensive Rookie of the Year? I doubt it. Again, I believe that Travis Hunter is more elite as a cornerback than he is as a wide receiver. Don't believe me? Take the college football voters right for it as well. Their vote for it as well. DRS, he was an AP first-team All-American at corner, was Travis Hunter, the Heisman Trophy winner a season ago. He was second-team All-American at wide receiver. Again, I think he is elite as a cornerback. I think he is very, very good as a wide receiver. That will remain to be seen what Cleveland decides to do. Browns have often decided the worst of 2 options.
Yes, and the Browns, if they just stay put and take either Abdul Carter or Travis Hunter, you can't lose at that spot. They are 2 unbelievably talented kids, but you're right about this. The thought process of could Travis Hunter be an elite wide receiver in the NFL? There's a possibility of that, right? But if you're just coming into the NFL as an elite lockdown corner, again, that is such a premium position. Now, I'm not knocking it, well, Donnie, wide receiver in the NFL is equally important. No, it's really important. But if you have a rare commodity in the NFL, a one-on-one lockdown cornerback, which I think Travis Hunter can be over the next 10 years, that's where you have to use him. And nobody's saying that you can't play both sides of the football. Every play, you can't do that. But you're telling me in like a 2-minute drill, you throw Travis Hunter in there with a couple packages as a slot wide receiver, he can dominate as well. Use that to your advantage, because I don't think you can sort of flip the switch is what I'm talking about. Let's just say you play the entire game as like a wideout. but then you come in as a nickel cornerback. Like, no, I need your focus being on defense and learning the tendencies. It's very easy to come into an offensive play and be like, okay, I know I have a 7-yard out route right here. On defense, you need to know the intricacies of every single player out there as a cornerback to understand what your position is on the field. The blown coverage that you see, they're detrimental. A blown wide receiver, cut in or out, you technically don't even hear about those until after he ran the wrong route at that point. Stay a cornerback here, fill in on offense. I think it'll work much better for both him and also the team he plays for.
Completely agree, DRS. But again, the thought the Browns have at least let everybody know is that he's better as a wide receiver. Again, I'm not so sure they're the greatest talent evaluators.
It's more fun.
There.
It's more fun.
What?
Wide receiver's way more fun, though. So I agree.
Way
Me and Travis Hunter, we got a lot in common. I was a DB in high school and a wideout. Went to college, I was a wideout. So, you know what I mean? Go with the love. The wide receivers.
Of course, Travis Hunter's value in the idea he is going so early is because he is a dynamic unicorn. But if he really is thought of more as a wide receiver by Cleveland, this would be the earliest a wideout has been drafted. Second overall since 2007. When Calvin Johnson went second. Now, that's a lot to live up to. I'm not so sure Travis Hunter is Calvin Johnson good as a wide receiver. How about his Colorado teammate? DRS, one of the stories of this Tuesday, 48 hours out from the NFL draft, is some substantial market movement with Shedeur Sanders in the team most likely to draft Shedeur. Earlier in the week, close to an even money price, it was the New Orleans Saints as the most likely team to land Shedeur, 9th overall. Some conversation about the Giants, maybe even the Browns. The team that is currently booked with the shortest number to draft Shedeur Sanders is the Pittsburgh Steelers at plus 310.
Yeah, no, and it makes some sense. Like, I would love that move. You have to start your future now. Now, this is a team that's ready to win. We're not saying that they're going to be Super Bowl champions if they get Shedeur Sanders and he plays well. But sooner than later, you have to start. And it appears that Aaron Rodgers certainly isn't going to be that guy. But by the way, just talking again real quick on Travis Hunter. Like, Donnie, you can't talk on Travis Hunter. Understand this, Ben. 1994 at Haddon Heights. Had a 97-yard interception return for a touchdown and scored on an 11-yard slant pass. Offense and defense, that's my specialty.
Yeah.
I can speak all day on Travis Hunter. Show me some respect on this network.
Could use you on the NFL draft show if you're free on Thursday.
I don't know.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
If you're going to trade Durant, right, it means things are getting weird anyway. Teams are going to, before they go for Durant, they're going to go for Devin Booker. That's just the reality of it.
You get rid of Durant, or do you do the crazy one because you're so far out of the West? Do you get rid of Booker because D-Book will bring you far more in a return?
Betting above the rim. Only on SportsGrid.
We get you set around the Stanley Cup postseason with one of the best to do it with the ice advice. That would be NHL's Pete Jensen joining us here on this Tuesday morning on the early line on SportsGrid. Pete, what a quadruple header of playoff games around the Stanley Cup postseason last night on a Monday evening. We will recap all 4 of them for you, what it means for these opening round playoff series. Pete's not going away after just one segment. He will be here to round out this second hour to look at our action on the ice tonight. Pete, as always, thanks so much for being here.
Yeah, of course. We never know what to expect in these games, right? You try not to get too high with the highs or low with the lows. Everybody was low on the Dallas Stars after the Game 1 lopsided loss. But if you watched that team all year, you knew that there was some bounce back appeal. And certainly it came in Game 2 with the overtime victory. So, yeah, it's just a lesson to, keep on your toes with all these different swings of momentum in the series.
That is Stanley Cup playoff hockey to a T. A couple of Game 1s last night on the ice, a couple of Game 2s, and a couple of overtime thrillers. Let's start with the opening game in the series between the Capitals and the Canadiens. Tightly contested, Pete, throughout. And in overtime, the record setter, Alexander Ovechkin, adds another notch of history in his legendary NHL career. His first ever playoff overtime winner to deliver the Caps a victory to start off their series against the Habs 3-2 in the extra session. Washington takes a 1-0 series lead led by Alexander Ovechkin. Pete, how does this guy keep delivering where he is in his NFL career? Or NHL career, excuse me.
Yeah, he looks like an NFL player, right? Parked in front of the net and knocking that home for sure. I mean, we know his physicality complements his high shot volume and his finishing ability, especially from that left side. But I think at different points in this series, against the Canadiens, you're going to see Washington's size, physicality overwhelm the young, surprising Canadiens a little bit when push comes to shove. That said, the speed of Montreal got them back into that game last night. I actually picked Montreal for the upset because I didn't like how Washington was, kind of limping into the playoffs performance-wise. Logan Thompson came back from injury yesterday, looked pretty good, so that's a good sign. Still playing without Alexi Protas, who's another one of those guys. If Protas comes back, he's another sizable guy, plays a lot on Ovechkin's opposite wing, and another one of those powerhouse guys that has gotten Washington to this point in the season.
Games were phenomenal last night. All 4 games decided by 1 goal, which included multiple games heading to overtime. But the game I want to talk about with you, Pete, if you were able to stay up late last night and catch that Oilers-Kings game, what a fantastic finish. A 4-goal lead for the Kings, watching that disappear late in the final 2 minutes, only to have it stolen back by the Kings to take that game before they even got to overtime. Unbelievable action. 11 total goals scored in that game, Pete.
Yes, that's a series and obviously the game where you're going to want to keep an eye on the live line because there's going to be a lot of swings. Even if the Kings win this series, you know that McDavid and Draisaitl are not going to go down without a fight by any stretch of the imagination. So, yeah, nice recovery by the Kings. I wanted to give a shout out to Andrei Kuzmenko, one of the hidden gems of the trade deadline, had a goal, 2 assists, 5 shots on goal, and per Edge Stats, which is the NHL's advanced stats. People should go on NHL.com/edge and click around and see some of these things. And Kuzmenko actually, through the first few days of the playoffs, has the highest offensive zone time percentage of any player in the league. So that gives people a chance to maybe get an edge in the props market and stuff like that. But yeah, what a furious comeback. That's got to be deflating for Edmonton to make a comeback like that and still lose the game with how they've been playing in recent months.
The Kings jumped out to a 4-0 start. They had a 3-goal lead in that third period before Edmonton, courtesy of Connor McDavid, equalized at 5-5. The Kings victorious. And Pete, as you well know, Los Angeles trying to get some revenge on the Oilers, who have ousted the Kings from the playoffs in the opening round each of the last 3 Stanley Cup postseasons. A couple of Game 2s last night. Pete, it's the game you discussed as we welcomed you on. Count out Dallas. The Stars equalized their series against the Avs at a game apiece with the overtime thriller yesterday, 4-3. What did the Stars figure out last night in game number 2 against the Avs?
I mean, they cashed in on more of their high danger chances than they did in the first game when Mackenzie Blackwood, the Avalanche goalie, stopped all 11 high danger shots faced in a single game. He faced 10 last night, not so pretty, of course, including the overtime winner by Colin Blackwell, which was a great individual effort and follow through and a second chance opportunity late in the game. I mean, Dallas has the deepest offense in the league, even with how they kind of limped into the postseason with a losing streak. And of course, we all know what a shame that was. Jason Robertson, last regular season game of the season, didn't mean anything. He got injured. Now he's injured. He's been their top forward. But luckily, Dallas is so deep. Wyatt Johnston is a great playoff performer. Mikko Rantanen, of course, facing his former team. And all of a sudden, Dallas claws back here to even the series.
Let's take a look at the awards market, too. It's never too early to take a look at these because I do think it's interesting and certainly a correlation. You take a look at the series between the Jets and the Blues. The Jets are up 2-0, which means Winnipeg's goalie, Connor Hellebuck, has 2 victories there. He sits at a 12-1 price right now to win the Conn Smythe Trophy. Aho, McKinnon, Eichel, Jarvis, and McCarr behind him. Without asking you, can Hellebuck win it? Is there somebody at a price point that even after a game or two in some of these series that you still have your eye on here, Pete?
I mean, look at the 10th guy on that board, Nikita Kucherov. Nobody has more points than this guy since 2015-16. And that, of course, overlaps with McDavid's career and stuff like that. 2-time Stanley Cup champ. And always an interesting wrinkle for those multi-cup champions. Hedman won it one year, the Conn Smythe for Tampa Bay, and Vasilevsky won it the other year. So maybe this year, if Tampa Bay makes another deep run with their core, 5 players or so of elite players. Of course, Victor Hedman's still on the team. Braden Point's still on the team. Brandon Hagel's a beast. I feel like Tampa Bay, nobody's really talking about them making a deep run, but if they do and if they win the thing, Kucherov has led the league in scoring 2 straight years. So there's a lot of writing on the wall there, guys.
Yeah.
Let's talk about those Bolts in their opening game of the Sunshine State Showdown against the Panthers tonight, and 3 other Game 2s to break down with Pete Jensen. That's up next.
They're so close that we're barely going to be getting any value on the plus side of things. I think there's a little bit of value on the Blue Jays today, but it's an awesome division. Like, I don't want to see teams running away and be up by 12 games in first place. We want to see teams constantly battling for first place.
They hit a team total. I love that. So as many times as we get bad beats, you do get the same amount of good beats typically in your direction if you wait long enough.
Pro Baseball Today, only on SportsGrid.
If you're going to trade Durant, right, it means things are getting weird anyway. Teams are going to, before they go for Durant, they're going to go for Devin Booker. That's just the reality of it.
You get rid of Durant, or do you do the crazy one? Because you're so far out of the West, you get rid of Booker, because D-Book will bring you far more in a return.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
11 times now without a major, 14 times at the Masters. He finally has the green jacket. Rory McIlroy.
The best sporting event so far this year. It's better than the Super Bowl. It was better than the NCAA tournament. It had ups and downs. It had roller coaster rides. It had history, legacies. It had everything you could ever possibly want.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
The 2 guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity. I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What?
How do you do this one?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Back for a second consecutive segment. That's what he deserves during the Stanley Cup postseason. Pete Jensen with us here on this Tuesday morning on the early line on SportsGrid. Pete, we recapped the 4 games we saw last night in the Stanley Cup playoffs on a Monday. Another quadruple header on this Tuesday. 3 game twos. We'll get to those in a second. And a rare opening game as well of a playoff set between a couple of Florida rivals. It's the Tampa Bay Lightning and the Florida Panthers. Minus 126 in favor of the Bolts tonight as they welcome in the reigning Stanley Cup champs. Pete, as you look at this Sunshine State rivalry and what we will see here in this opening round series, what will we see tonight in this opening game that could dictate what we see the rest of the set?
Yeah, it's interesting that there's a plus number on the defending champs, especially when you could very well get news after this segment is over that Matthew Tkachuk would be returning. It sounds like he's like a game day decision. But again, he's been out ever since the Four Nations tournament. You know, he's been circling this date on his calendar, or this the long weekend, whatever you want to call it. So I think like Matthew Tkachuk is very live to appear in this series and make an impact. And if you look at the fact that he would be joining in terms of the projected lines, aligned with Sam Bennett, his trusted centerman, and then also Brad Marchand, the grizzled veteran playoff performer from the Boston Bruins all those years. Remember, they added him at the deadline. Like, that's a ridiculous second line. And that's why, like, that number was so big on Kucherov, because as much as we love Kucherov and what he's done regular season and postseason in his career, like the Bolts are no lock to get out of this first round with Florida standing in their way. That's for sure.
Yeah, really good lineup there to start, no doubt about it. Now, we have 4 games tonight, and Ben's heard me rant on this quite some time. And I know you might have an open line to Gary Bettman here, which you can help me out, Pete, because 6 o'clock game tonight, Devils, Hurricanes. Fantastic. Genius. Whoever's in the marketing room, I love that. 7:30 game, Senators, Maple Leafs. Fantastic. 8:30 game, Panthers, Lightning, which we just talked about. Great. 11 o'clock game tonight with the Wild and the Gold. 11 o'clock game. Move that. Pete, please, can you make a phone call to move that bad boy up? Is there any help you can give us here?
I mean, it's going to be a late night out in Vegas for sure. Vegas is a strong home team. Don't count out those Minnesota Wild, though. Like, they did get Kaprizov back late in the regular season. They got Joel Eriksson Ek back late in the regular season. And remember, he had a 4-goal game in his return to the lineup a couple of weeks ago. So maybe that's a guy to keep an eye on in an against-the-grain spot in the props market. But I think that Vegas and Carolina in this round, I'm not saying that they're going to cruise here, but there are good chances that those series end in, 4 or 5, maybe 6 games. Those are probably the only 2 series in the entire league this postseason where you can really pinpoint a clear advantage with those 2 teams. So that's what I'm looking at. Definitely worth staying up, though, to see if the Wild pull the upset and tie the series.
Yeah, I don't know why this Donnie guy is complaining, Pete. He's going to be asleep by 8 p.m. anyway. It's tougher for you, who has to wake up in the morning and enlighten us here on the early line. Yeah. So thank you, Pete, for doing that, DRS. Maybe see if there's another open line of communication. Pete, you mentioned it. Yes. The Golden Knights and the Hurricanes victorious in game number 1. Both very hefty favorites, nearing $2.50 on the money line tonight to take a 2-0 series advantage. And when we look at Carolina, a short favorite relative to the rest of the field to hoist Lord Stanley's Cup at a plus 470 price, more than $2 in front of everybody else still playing here in the Stanley Cup postseason. Pete, what is it about the Canes that makes them such a legitimate Stanley Cup contender?
Yeah, I mean, I think one thing about them that's different from previous years, we always view them as a possession juggernaut and a team that's going to make a deep run. I think they're the only team in the past 4 or 5 years that has won at least one round every single year. And they usually get they usually have the coaching style to complement regardless of the first round opponent. It's just eventually when push comes to shove, they usually outshoot their opponents and they can't finish. This year, they have a couple of different wrinkles. Even though they had to trade away Mikko Rantanen, I'm looking at the rookies on this team, guys. Logan Stankoven, multi-point game in his first game. He has untapped potential, was underutilized with the Dallas Stars before that trade. And also Jackson Blake, among the rookie leaders in goals, in shots on goal. even strength goals. Like these are new, it's new blood in the equation for Carolina, and maybe could change the narrative for them. Remember that Metro bracket is the clearest path to the conference finals of all 4 NHL divisions this postseason.
Pete Jensen, as always, the insight is greatly appreciated. Hour number 3 up next.